Hello and welcome to a special edition of the 11th OVC. We are actually with Danny Michael with the Cody Firearms Museum in the Buffalo Bill Center of the West. We're pretty excited today to kind of see what you have to show us as far as weapons of the Civil War. You definitely want to kind of, for those of you who haven't been to the Cody Firearms Museum, definitely check it out. It's one of the best firearms museums out there. They have over 10,000 firearms and firearms-related accessories. One of the best collections out there in the world, definitely United States. So without further ado, we're going to get into some Civil War weapons unique to maybe things you haven't seen before. And without further ado, Danny, show us what you got here.
Yeah, so what we have here in front of us, and I'll try and hold it up for your viewers, is a Sharps carbine. If you were a Union trooper in the Civil War, you would probably be very familiar with one of these.
Definitely. Yeah.
It's a pretty standard one. It's not the early slant breech. It's got that vertical breech. Works like any other Sharps carbine. Takes that paper or linen cartridge, like I said, very, very common to a Civil War soldier. Single shot, not a magazine-fed breech loader, but a breech loader is still an important step up considering what was out there at the time.
Definitely. Yeah.
So this one, though, is a little bit unique.
Definitely unique, yeah.
Your eagle-eyed viewers will probably have seen this side plate here, and it takes this little tab. It goes in there. If I can get it to fit and stay, it's a little bit loose. And then I'll go very slowly because I don't want to ruin anything there, but that handle turns on a grinding wheel that's inside the stock and conceivably would allow you to grind coffee beans or maybe something else, we're not quite sure.
Right. And
this has earned the moniker the Coffee Mill Sharps. So these guns, as best as I know the story, and this thing has a propensity to want to fall out, so I'm going to set it back down.
You bet.
But these guns were an experiment, I believe, at the St. Louis Arsenal in around 1864. An officer there had the idea of how can I make this already very utilitarian firearm even more utilitarian. Let's add a coffee grinder to it, or some have theorized that it's for grain or something else. There was an experiment one time where a curator tried to grind some coffee with one of these a number of years ago. He said it couldn't be done. Other people said you can. So it's like this weird, really niche historical debate of will these grind coffee or not. We've never tried it in ours.
So you don't know whether they were actually designed for coffee. So I guess I wasn't really, obviously definitely familiar with the just the coffee mill Sharps. It's very famous out there, but I just assumed it was designed to grind coffee, and you're saying there's actually a little bit of debate on that then.
Right, there is. So we've actually had ours apart. We've never ground coffee with it, but we have taken it apart. The internals look exactly like a coffee grinder. If you're familiar with a hand grinder for coffee, it looks just like that. There seems to be, and it earned that moniker because of that.
Right.
And it seems to be that probably if these had made it into the troops' hands, I can very easily imagine them trying this.
Well, yeah, definitely, right?
Right. But it seems like the officer that came up with the idea intended it as maybe a more general purpose. So, if they're out foraging and come across something like grain or something like that, for me that's a little bit tougher to conceive of. Grinding grain all the way into bread seems like a bigger chore than coffee into something to drink.
Exactly.
But
that's interesting.
Yeah, there is a debate about it.
Good. I didn't know that. So that's good. And actually, another thing that you just said that surprised me too is you said this is an 1864 variant. Or I guess I was thinking this is more of an early war. Like you said, it's not slant breech, so it's not that genre. But I just assumed it was more of an early war thing. But if you're talking 1864, that's definitely not the case.
Yeah, and this could be my memory failing me here.
That's all right. Yeah.
As I recall, this idea was sort of tried in 1864. So yeah, late war for sure.
Interesting.
When the Union had a little bit better grasp on their supply situation anyway, so maybe there wasn't the huge need that there might have in those crazy days of the early war when its logistics everybody was still figuring it out.
Exactly. No, that's great. And the other kind of interesting aspects as far as, do they come blued or do they come like that?
That's a really good question. A lot of the Sharps that we still have are in the white kind of bright finish, and that's really common to Civil War guns. You'll see some that have like browning or case hardening on them, but especially long arms in the Civil War. You see lots of photos of the guns bright.
Right.
It seems like if any finish came from the armories, they were quickly sort of worn away by use. But probably a lot of these guns were just made as what they called armory bright, so which we just call in the white nowadays.
Definitely. So actually, real quick too, serial number wise, I don't know if you care what the serial numbers are, but the serial number range, or I guess this one right here says, let's see here, 19423.
Yep. So 19,000 serial number range, and off the top of my head, I'm going to say that there were somewhere north of 100,000 Sharps made during the war, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah,
So.
the only thing I know is burn size, about 55,000 burn
Yeah.
size. But yeah, that's again kind of a different. I was expecting totally early war, and that's interesting. So no, that's great. I appreciate it. Anything else you'd like to add to this kind of unique piece of history?
Yeah, it really is. You said unique, and it's pretty close to it. We're not sure how many they made originally. Maybe something like a few dozen at most. There's not many survivors. There's a few fakes out there. Ours actually was collected by a former Winchester executive way back in the early 20th century. Became part of the Winchester collection before coming out to us.
Interesting.
So yeah, this is one of just a handful of survivors, and we normally keep it on display except for videos like this.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
happy to do it.
Appreciate you guys joining us. We have a few more episodes that we'll have, and until we see you again next time, ride hard.